order. And we'll do roll call, please.
All right, Joyce Dalton.
Here.
Dan Granquist.
Here.
Dwayne Hurt.
Here.
John Hendricks. Absent. Okay. David Augustus. Here. Roger Portratz. No. And Anthony Holt, who's not present.
Right.
Amy Milton.
Here.
Deb Parcell.
Present.
And Aaron Barger, myself, present.
Aaron, were you on this board previously?
Yes.
You were, weren't you?
About 3 years or 4 years ago.
3 years ago or so.
And he wanted to try new horizons.
Yes.
And this old horizon wasn't that bad.
No. Other opportunities for coming back here.
Okay, we need approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to add a new item under number 9, new business, item B, to discuss district boundaries. We have 3 districts here, so I just want to go over the district boundaries, size, the ordinance description, and the maps.
All right. And if someone has I can't make a motion, obviously, if we could also have a C added for discussing when to have December's meeting.
Okay, we'll have
Under new business, C.
number 9C,
Okay.
discussion of December meeting.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. Both of them raise their hands, so whichever one. Okay. Do I have a motion? Did everyone have a chance to read their minutes from October 25th?
We'll have a vote approval.
That's.
Everybody approve?
Okay. And who's making the motion? Dwayne's making a motion. We have a second. Okay. All right. Then correspondence.
No.
Okay. So then we'll start with our surveys.
316 East 7th Street. It's a fairly lengthy one. I thought they might leave it, but we will get started. So this is, the applicant's name is Linda Weber. Weber. Okay. 316 East 7th Street. It's a contributing Queen Anne style property built around 1900. The proposed project is considerably more than what we started out with on the COA application. When I made a site visit, it kind of grew into more. So these are the things we're looking at. I broke it down into 5 parts. First part is removing the old shakes and wood siding, replacing with LP Smart Side. There was a color attached to the application. Install new aluminum soffit. The color was also attached to the application, as well as replacing aluminum fascia with new aluminum fascia. Colors attached to the application. Part 2 is replacing old windows with Pella and
One of the
Impervia.
seats back there, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Replacing the old windows with Pella Impervia fiberglass windows, black colored frames, and install glass block in the 4 basement window openings. Number 3 is replacing the front door with a new door and side lights. Number 4 is install new aluminum gutters and downspouts in a dark brown color mocha. And finally, installing new wood privacy fence similar to the fence at 213 East 6th Street at the sides and rear of the property. So, evaluation. For the siding, the wood shakes are not original to the house and are very deteriorated. Beneath those shakes are the clapboard siding, and it has places that need significant repair and replacement, especially the corners. The corners were really bad. I'm not sure what they did when they installed those shakes, but a lot of sections missing, things that have been pieced in. It just doesn't look good, and it's sad.
A cute house.
It is, yeah. So the LP Smart Side in a color compatible with the historic color palette installed horizontally. with a smooth face and reveal that matches the original clapboard as closely as possible is an acceptable alternative. The windows should be trimmed to match the original trim size and profile with LP Smart Side trim, smooth face. Size and location indicate that the small boarded-up opening on the second floor east facade is probably not an original window opening and can be sided over. I took a picture of that somehow. That's an application. Okay, page 4. If you see that, no one's really sure what that is. It is not in the stairway, and it doesn't match anything else. I don't know what it is. They don't know. So I see no reason that can't be covered up. I don't think we're missing anything on the inside or the outside. So that's the siding. As far as the windows, the casement windows are very deteriorated and need to be replaced. Their size and style are not typical for the Queen Anne house, indicating that they may have been installed during the 1920 remodel of the house. We did some research into the Sanborn maps and found that around 1920 the house was seriously remodeled. It had a wraparound porch before that, and they just took that off, left that little stoop there in the front, left the little eyebrow roof over the one window in the front. And that style of windows really go with that time period of 1920. They don't exist anywhere else, so I would just, we believe that's part of that rehab. They were updating to the more craftsman sort of look. The windows now are, the wood is deteriorated. There have been some very bad repairs made to some of them. They're casement windows, and they don't close, some of them. I mean, it would take some serious repair to get that back. So what the owners are proposing there is installing 2 or 3 double hungs joined together with mullions, which would be like the second floor has pairs of windows joined with mullions, so they're looking at doing that instead of the windows that are there. And that's probably what was there to begin with, these pairs of double hungs. It would have been more typical for that time period, but we don't have any pictures, so there's no real way to know that. Hella Impervia fiberglass windows are on the pre-approved window list. Windows sized to exactly fit the openings, paired in units similar to the second floor windows, would meet the historic district guidelines. The dark color is appropriate. My personal opinion, dark brown's a little better than black. I think black's kind of trendy right now, but it's still better than white. Yeah. The basement windows that they want to replace with glass black, those are located on the sides. They are not in the public view. They would like security and light to the basement, so that, I believe, could also be approved. It was approved for their property on 6th Street previously for the same reasons. The front door is horrible. It's non-original. Definitely needs to be replaced. They were looking at a full glass front door, and they were going to give me a picture. I haven't seen it. I'm assuming Aaron hasn't seen it either.
Nope.
So I don't know what that looks like. If it's something compatible, I would recommend approval. I don't know. Gutters and downspouts, the house currently does not have any gutters and downspouts, so that would be a good addition, and the dark brown color would meet the historic district guidelines. And then the fence, the wood privacy fence, is identical to what is on 6th Street that we approved for that. So the staff recommendation would be that the siding, trim, soffit, and fascia be approved as submitted with the condition of smooth-faced siding with as narrow reveal as possible. The windows, approval as submitted with condition that the windows should fit the openings and the mullions should match those existing on the second floor paired double-hung windows. For the front door and side lights, I would say approval, but pending the submission of a final design. So that's something that maybe you could allow staff to approve. Gutters and downspouts, recommend approval. And fence, approval with the condition that the fence does not extend beyond the front plane of the house. I asked for a site plan with the fence drawn on there. We talked about it. They understood what I was talking about, but I asked for a site plan, and I haven't got that either. So that's what we have.
Does anyone have any questions?
The fence proposed for all around the
Yeah,
property?
going out from the
From the front
from the
plane.
front plane,
Down the side.
down the sides and around the
Right.
back, yeah.
Is there a clear demarcation of the property line? I mean, but visually,
It appeared to be,
Appears.
yeah. There's not a lot of property on the west side, and there's a parking lot over there. Then in the back, there's an area where the previous tenants were parking. And I think the plan is to fence all of that and then have a gate, so people can come in and shut the gate. And then coming up between them and the next property looked pretty clear.
Any questions? We have a motion? Well, first of all, I guess we need to have a motion to let the staff approve the front door when they get the plans.
Joyce, there could just be a single motion if the commission is willing to do so, that just approves, if the commission is leaning towards approval, as staff has recommended.
Yeah.
That would grant staff the ability to staff approve anything
Sure.
else that's indicated in that.
with the stated subject tos.
Right.
Right.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make-
Go ahead. You go ahead. You do it.
I'm not,
Okay, Dan makes the motion as stated. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, give me a second. All in favor, aye, please.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you. Every time we have a meeting. If you put them on the commission, I guess.
There you go.
We can.
Comes more faithfully than some
Some of
that
the
actually bid on the
members,
commission,
true,
yes.
true.
Okay, we're ready for 2021-065. Mark, this is the property at 802 Cedar. It includes the turf block and concrete driveway, which that part I didn't know about, so that's not in the staff report. The staff report that I have is just to bring back I shouldn't say just, it's a major project, to bring back the original second floor porch for the sketch that was attached to the application. Is adding a railing around the edges with turned spindles and a door and a window similar to the first floor porch. They'll match those. All siding to match has already been pre-approved. That was the LP Smart side with diamond coat. Get that. So the size and location of the second floor porch was revealed when the T111 siding was removed. Proposed siding, window, and door will match those approved by the commission for this property with COA 2021-6. The railing will be painted, turned wood spindles, height and spacing to comply with code requirements. The proposed restoration of the second floor porch meets the historic district guidelines. Staff recommends approval as submitted.
Oh, yeah. That's gonna make it look so much better. So cool.
Yes.
So much more character.
This is the one that wants to put the concrete driveway in and the neighboring property.
Yeah.
The neighbor 804 Cedar, so I won't. So 804, I actually already staffed approved.
She's not even on the request for COA. I mean, the owner.
So it's a separate application.
Oh, it is, there is a separate application?
Yes. So, to save the property owner who's present from filling out another application, more additional paper, it was considered easier just to tack it on the motion for an approval. It's already currently there. There is a concrete pad and concrete ribbon stripes, and so the concrete is really just replacing concrete that's already existing, and the turf block is really just to increase the actual surface and also allow for increase drainage, because concrete would increase the impervious surface, while turf block is a permeable paver system. It's my understanding that 802 Cedar has had also foundation issues, so it's also in the best interest to make sure water goes down instead of over, and this is unique. I don't believe there's too many properties in Michigan City that actually have a common driveway. So it splits off, but it's still kind of just considered one giant pad. Is that
Correct. It's one giant piece.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Sorry. As far as Miss Hattie's side, we thought, I'm not fully sure where she's at and whether or not she has signed off on it. So,
she has not signed off on the building permit,
so I don't
but
know.
the approval from the Historic Preservation Commission for the staff review is valid.
Okay.
So it's really just this side of his side of the property.
And this portion was only discovered when you removed the siding?
Yeah, there was the T111 that was on there. We didn't know it was there. When we pulled it up, I'm like, hey,
But is there a door inside of it?
there is,
Like this door?
there's not currently, but there,
Oh, that,
you can see where the wall was,
Yeah.
but we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna reframe it. Put it back where it was.
Is there any issue with the door itself? Okay. You have a little second floor outdoor.
Yeah.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fabulous.
that'd be nice. Be
Make a
very-
motion to approve
Okay, Dan, do it.
as staff recommended.
And does that include the turf block and driveway?
If that's part of this application, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Dwayne. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
Thank you for working and improving.
yes, it's gonna be nice, and
Thank you.
lots of, I couldn't believe the
A little bit of a
foundation.
journey.
Yes, yes,
Foundation.
yes, it was. Unreal.
Contractors. Good credit.
Okay,
Did you find good contractors? I had stopped and talked to you once.
Yes, we're working it.
Still working on it?
We're working on it. We got rid of the ones that weren't so good. So that's a step in the right direction.
always. Okay. All right, let Deb catch up.
Finally, 211 East Sixth Street, and this
Thank you, everybody.
applicant, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm a little hungry, so.
Long day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is kind of a last minute one, but I felt the request was pretty straightforward. It's just something that we don't happen to have the particular material pre-approved, so it needs to go before the commission. I didn't want to make him wait. I talked to him this morning. He's in Texas, but he would like to join by phone, so I'm gonna call him and put him on speakerphone. Hi, David. Hey, this is Deb Parcell from Indiana Landmarks, and I'm at the Michigan City Historic Preservation Commission meeting right now, and your COA is the next one up on the agenda. So I'll put you on speakerphone, okay? All right. So this is David. And so the property is 211 East 6th Street. It's a circa 1900 Italianate rated contributing. The project, which I did not write on the staff report, I am so sorry, it is on the application, is to replace 3 8-inch diameter column pillars in the front porch, front side of the house. So evaluation, and you can see the photos that go with that. You can see some of the condition. Definitely the west column shows some serious deterioration down towards the base.
Oh, yeah.
The center column has a long vertical split. I wasn't able to inspect the columns in person. I'm just going off the photographs. but I couldn't, from the photographs, see a lot of deterioration on the column that's farthest to the left, but if the other two are bad, I think we can assume that that one is probably not far behind. So if you'd like to replace these wood columns with fiberglass, and if you're replacing one, I feel like they should all match. So they're the same size and scale, and that meets the historic district guidelines, and in fact could be staff approved if it was the same material, but we're changing from wood to fiberglass, which in fact is a more durable material, and it's probably going to last longer than any wood column that you would buy today and put up there. So
And the appearance is all the same.
I was
the
just gonna
appearance
ask
is
the same question. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just the change of material that requires him to come to the commission for approval. But my recommendation is approval as submitted. So if you have comments or questions.
Well, let's take advantage of modern technology and materials with the same historic
Yeah.
look.
Right. I do have one question. Are you having an issue? I notice on the top, there's the white pipe railings that are up there. Have you had issues with people who live there maybe climbing out windows up on that roof?
Well, there have been. I don't think we call them issues. We don't allow anybody to go out there anymore because of the structure of those rooms.
Okay.
When we discovered that, we keep people from off there. But yeah, there have been people out there before.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments?
The replacement of these columns merely for appearance purposes because of deterioration, or are they structurally
They are
unsound?
Structural. Yeah.
They're structurally needed
To hold up that roof.
hold up that whole
That
overhang.
porch. Yeah.
And those fiberglass pillars are actually rated for, I think the 8 inches rated for 8,000 pounds each.
Yeah,
So
Which is good.
it's probably as much or more than a wooden one.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Dwayne, do I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, passed, thank you.
Okay, David. It passed unanimously, so you are good to go. You'll be able to building permits and move forward.
Thank you.
Right. Yep, that's it. Thank you. Bye. He says thank you to all the committee, so. Okay.
Okay, we're maintenance review now. And 211 East 6th Street.
So 211 East 6th Street was just some tuck pointing and some painting, which I believe that all of that work has already been completed.
Okay. All right. Then we're moving on to 1011 Franklin.
So 1011 Franklin, anyone has been by recently, because of the demolition of one of the buildings for the double tracking, the wood was exposed. There was some wood siding, but it was deteriorated. Half of it was falling down where there was any. So they have the property owner has an approval for doing LP Smart Side. I'm currently working with their contractor for the exact specifications of that.
I see today they've got
Yeah, they got that, and then
which makes it look better already.
yeah, and they are required to remove the asbestos on that elevation as well as any of the wood siding that's underneath it.
So it's gonna be sided complete to the roof?
Yeah.
Is he putting in windows up there? Any windows, or did he ask to?
He said he was going to get those windows repaired, and that's just consider that maintenance.
I'm curious, you know if they saved any of those bricks during demolition?
I was not aware of any requirement to salvage any of the bricks.
I know the previous son of the owner, when it was a drugstore, asked and was allowed to take some bricks, but the rest of them were gone. So,
Too bad.
and we would have never known if there were bricks for that part of it anyway, because
Until
it's
they
always
exposed
been.
them, yeah. But when they were exposed, boy, they were beautiful. I mean, that whole wall was like, oh, wow, those were, you know, each brick was,
You should have been there and you could,
I watched it every day. I mean, I see it all.
There's a couple more buildings that are coming down shortly.
yeah.
I know.
Do you know where the stuff's going?
For,
The salvage bricks,
no, there's no salvage requirement for those buildings.
but they're not, but, I mean,
The person
they
tearing
touted
it
the,
down gets it.
they touted the company as being economically conscious, or environmentally conscious
So not
reuser.
that I'm aware of.
They're probably reselling them to some
Chicago Antique Brick, you don't know.
good market. I know much.
Okay, any other questions about that one? All right. Then we'll go on
Still
to,
has to pay for this himself?
Yeah, that sucks.
You gotta pay for,
I am not currently aware of what's happening.
you mean, does he have to, no, he,
but there was, you know,
part of that,
that's a result of
Because they
the
were
neighboring
joined.
building
Yeah,
being torn down.
yeah,
But anyway, that's not our problem.
no. Okay, we're going to 424 East 8th.
So 424 East 8th Street is just Tuck Pointing. And the, goes into what the mixture is going to be. And there's a photo of what previous Tuck Pointing was that was done improperly.
Okay. And we're doing 221 East 6th.
So 221 East 6th Street is just re-roofing with architectural shingles, and there are currently shingles there.
And then we're going to 425 East 9th.
So 425 East 9th Street was some replacement of the soffit, fascia, and gutters to the property. This was, just want to make sure this is the right house I'm thinking of, yes. They reach out to Deb Parcell just to confirm that the scope would be approvable at the staff level.
Cute house.
It's a pretty house. Okay. 508 Wabash.
So for 508 Wabash, it's just re-roofing, everything but the eyebrow sections and the shingles for shingles.
232 East 8th.
232 East 8th Street is, I'll make sure, just re-roofing.
There's Harry Jackson.
And the last one, 804.
804 Cedar Street, as previously mentioned, that's just the space in between 802 and 804 Cedar Street, that there was ribbon strips there going to a full length pad that was shared between the properties, and that they're just the concrete pad and doing turf block instead of the concrete strips.
It's admirable that they're using a pervious pad. Is the city considering any sort of requirements for using, for increasing drainage like that? Pervious asphalt, pervious
The
concrete?
zoning code does have maximum impervious surfaces, and so this was the property owner for 802 Cedar went with turf blocks to ensure that they weren't going over that maximum threshold.
The turf blocks, are those the glazed brick that have multiple openings to allow turf to grow through?
They can be. So Turf Block itself is a brand. It's mostly they're usually just gray, so more gray. But there's usually gravel or there's grass. Preferably there should be grass, but and most pavers are not naturally permeable because they just don't have there's still a significant amount of hard surface there, and there's only very little area for actual water to go through. So the Turf Block will have substantially more surface, so it actually goes straight down. I'm not sure of the extent of the foundation work that was done on 802 Cedar.
Pretty substantial, yes,
So
up wall.
I believe it's in the best interest of that property owner to make sure that it's not concrete.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was all, yeah, it was bad. Okay, any committee reports?
Holiday party committee, are there any committees? What are the committees?
We don't have any right now because we've just, with COVID, it's been bad. We haven't been able to visit things we wanted to. Any old table business that needs to come before us again? Okay, then we'll, is this,
I'm assuming this is for 9B. Yes.
okay, we're going to go into new business. And we're talking about the commission training session that we've been talking about now for about a year and a half.
Yeah, we finally had people in person, and we had a relatively short number of COAs, lots of staff approvals, but
Yes.
very few that we actually talk about, so that's great. That's the goal of the guidelines, actually. So we have it, but how do we show it, Aaron?
So there's the TV approach, or if you know, how many is it a PowerPoint? Mm-hmm. How many slides is it? I can just print it real quick.
I guess I'd rather use it on the screen than print it.
Yeah, we'll give this a go again, I guess.
Okay.
Where is the actual work?
Is that for,
I think we don't really know how to slide stuff across this table.
Do you have PGA yet?
We all tried
What do we
it.
need?
Oh, yeah, didn't know where to try to reach it.
Somewhere.
There's an HDMI here somewhere.
I don't think I've got anything but HDMI.
It's here somewhere.
I don't think.
There.
No. The newer the computer, the less ways you can hook it up to anything.
They try to do more and more wireless type stuff, I
Yeah.
guess.
Let's scoot over here. Closer.
scoot a little closer, do you need to?
Oh, there's my house.
Okay, look at that. Amazing. And then I'll find it again. Because I put it on flash drive thinking that might be a place for it.
The best I can do is print it.
That's all right. We will have it up here just shortly as soon as I remember what I call it. All right. See if we can do this. So, not knowing exactly who I'd have tonight, I decided to go with this. This is just kind of the whole HPC process, since we have a completely new person and David is fairly new. And just for anybody, I think it's a good refresher to go through, you know, how things work and talk a little bit about the Michigan City enabling ordinance, the state enabling ordinance, touch a little bit on open door policy, and then just how COAs are processed and how that all works, just so you kind of know what all happens before you get here and why you're here. So we will talk about that for you guys here tonight. So first we'll talk about the state enabling ordinance and how that comes to create you guys here as a commission, a local commission. So a community wants a tool to protect and promote its assets. So the state of Indiana has an ordinance that they created. It's most recently updated in 2016. And that's the basis that's used for every commission that's created in the state of Indiana. So then the Common Council here in Michigan City creates the commission. So they approve the ordinance, the Historic Preservation Ordinance, and the mayor appoints members. And then there's surveys done of the community for historic resources and possible historic districts identified. That was quite a while ago. You have 3 of them. But that can continue to go on, indefinitely. So you could continue to add those in the future. Once the commission exists, then you have neighborhoods or individuals that want to protect properties, so they want them designated locally. So an ordinance is drafted for that specific historic district. Now, a historic district can be a single site, or it can be hundreds of sites, just depends, or anywhere in between. So an ordinance creates that, and guidelines are established. Of course, you're changing them now, but it was time for an update. And boundaries are developed. So there's sessions with friends and foes to help draft the guidelines, make sure that everybody's happy with the idea of designation, especially when you have a neighborhood, because there's always some people that aren't thrilled. And once you're happy with the district boundaries, the guidelines, you take that all to the commission. The commission takes it to the Common Council. They hold some public hearings, people speak for and against, and then hopefully they approve the ordinance. And from that point on, COAs are required for exterior changes, like what comes to you. So the state enabling law is meant to preserve and protect structures and neighborhoods. It allows the establishment of a historic preservation commission. There is no other way to create one in the state of Indiana. It has to be through that ordinance. The commission can adopt rules of procedure, so that's yours on your own. You come up with the rules of procedure. That doesn't have to go through the Common Council. And of course, all your meetings and your records are open to the public.
I got a question on that one, sorry. The intent, the streetscapes are implicitly protected, and that includes infrastructure, such as lighting,
Generally speaking, yes.
and that is,
Yes. Unless it's excluded. I mean, that is normal. Historic districts, that it's everything. It's, a lot of my, you don't have any here, brick streets, but a lot of my commissions do.
We do have a couple.
So those are generally included unless there's specific language excluding them. Streetlights, park benches, you name it, all that stuff. Trees, landscaping.
But it only goes to the external appearance and not to any internal floor plans and
Correct.
things like that.
Don't care about what happens on the inside unless it affects the outside. So if somebody has a great big window and they want to build a staircase in front of it, you care about that. Hopefully nobody does that.
so when a city changes the streetscape without consulting the historic.
I like where he's going with
Yeah,
this, I think.
Whatever could you mean?
Yeah, okay, all right, I'll lay off that now.
They should take permission. We'll just say that.
Or they take
They
protective
take the
covering
glass
up a
off
light.
the
Yes.
things and, yeah.
Don't understand it, shouldn't have happened, but anyway. So, the Indiana Open Door Law, something you guys have to operate under, so that means commission meetings are open to the public, all members of the public. They define a meeting as a gathering of the majority of the commission members. Anytime you have quorum, you have a meeting. What's not a meeting? A chance meeting, social gathering, on-site project inspection, orientation meetings, those are not. Now, you can't just have a chance meeting by all telling each other, oh, we're going to, wherever, Zorn afterwards, and you just all coincidentally happen to be there and talk about anything that has to do with the commission. That becomes a meeting immediately, so that's not a chance meeting. Official action is any time that you're getting information, so even like what you're doing now, you're receiving information, so that's official action. Anytime you're voting, if you're establishing policy, anytime you're making decisions. It does allow for executive session that doesn't have to be open to the public, but there's hardly anything you guys ever do that would fall under that. You don't hire many people or buy much property, so that just about never happens for a commission. So it's important that public notice is given of a meeting. It has to include the date, time, and place of the meetings, and it has to be at least 48 hours prior. And I know we've run into that a few times in the past year where notice wasn't given and then the meeting couldn't occur, and that's really frustrating for everybody. So notice is supposed to be at the principal office or the place where the meeting will be held and given to the news media if they want it. Agenda should be outside the meeting room 1 hour in advance. And meetings can be held anywhere, as long as it's accessible by the public. Doesn't matter where you do it, it doesn't have to be here. I have one commission that every other month meets in some of the members' homes, and they open it up to the public and advertise it. And yeah, it works, people come. And it's also important to know that the public is not guaranteed the right to speak at a meeting. Now, during the public hearing part, when you're talking about a COA, or if you're talking, if you have a district that you're looking at creating, there's opportunity for public hearing. But otherwise, you can give them that opportunity, and that's a great thing to do, but you don't have to. So your ordinance established the commission. It allows for 9 voting members. That varies. The state ordinance is anywhere between 3 and 9, so you guys are on the high end. They're all mayoral appointments, but you have some unusual things that none of my other 7 commissions have, so you're very special. So you have to have, or should have, according to your ordinance, at least 1 state licensed architect, 1 person who owns or leases historic district property. So thank you, Dwayne.
You're welcome.
I do too.
Good, excellent. So we've got 2 of those and 1 architect. So far, so good. A city registered contractor. Do we have that? Okay, good. A redevelopment commission member,
It's John.
John. A plan commission member,
It's me.
that's you.
I was gonna say it.
Good. So we hit all those. And then after that, the other 4 can be whatever, so. And actually, I don't believe that your ordinance ever says anywhere that you are required to live within the city limits. That is usually required,
Oh,
but I did not see that in your ordinance unless I skipped over it, so that's kind of interesting. So the planning director, or someone he or she appoints, is your advisor. So we have Aaron. And your ordinance also establishes the commission's powers and duties. So those are all outlined in your ordinance. We will not go through all that tonight. If I can get this to go forward. So what can the commission do? Establish historic districts. Like I said, you've got 3. You could always be thinking about adding new ones. That's not a bad thing, whether it's single site or multiple site. So it's good to add some new ones. There's some really nice buildings in Michigan City beyond just these 3 districts, so something to consider. You can adopt rules of procedure and guidelines, which you just did. You can grant and deny certificates of appropriateness, authorize staff approvals, except staff cannot approve demolitions, moving, additions, or new construction. That's up to you guys, and we don't want to do that either, just saying. That's what you're here for. And reach out to the public through education programs, which is a really important aspect of your job, and that's something that, has been hard with COVID, but I think it's something we need to look at for the new year. And you can acquire and dispose of property, so it's in your ordinance.
With what money?
Yeah, that's probably why it doesn't. Yeah. So what matters? Visual quality, like we talked about. Only features subject to the public view. And you're wanting to prevent development, alteration, or demolition that just doesn't fit with the neighborhood. Community education, that's actually spelled out there in your ordinance, so that's important. You want to promote public interest in a good way in historic preservation. And you want to encourage growth and development in town, and that's what you're here for. Maintaining distinctive neighborhoods, I think that's important. Every neighborhood has kind of its own flavor, so that's important. And all of those things help with tourism and property values. And there's a lot of studies that have been done that quantify those things. So to establish a historic district, you conduct surveys and establish historic districts. I brought my little, I don't know if you've all, probably most of you have seen this interim report.
How old is that now?
Well, it's the most current one there is. And they don't do them anymore. Yours is fairly old. Yes, it was revised in 2002. I work in Cass County, and theirs was from 1989, I think. So you're ahead of them. They don't do them anymore, so that won't happen. But within that, they often identify areas. No, this is LaPorte. Let me get to Michigan City. So within Michigan City, you have a lot of scattered sites. So, for instance, there it says Old Edgewood Historic District.
I'd like to know that information, because I live in Old Edgewood, but then it's like, do you live in Old Edgewood, or do you live in Edgewood? Are you in Edgewood, or are you on this side of Cool Spring or that side of Cool Spring?
There you go.
It's a big bone of, everyone's.
It has been for
Yeah,
you.
it has been, right?
So something like that is something to think about when you find those areas that they went through and they looked at, and they said these are like cohesive areas that would make good historic districts. Maybe not every single property in here, maybe you want to just take a portion, a block or two. But those are some good things to look at first, as well as going through and looking. They rated every property in here from non-contributing up to outstanding. So those ones that are individually rated outstanding are ones you should really consider approaching those people about having those designated, because it may be well maintained now and looking good, but what if those people sell it and the next people don't care? And then that's going to really devalue that home and change that neighborhood. So those are some things to think about when you're trying to decide where is the next area to go for a historic district.
Where do you find that? Like at the library? Would they have a
Yeah,
copy of
they would
it?
have it at the library. All the information that's in here is available online, but it would be hard to search for the districts online, so it would be easier to look in the book.
Look at that.
I do
Is
just
that a
want to.
Park Service publication or what?
No, Indiana Landmarks.
Landmarks?
And, Indiana University worked with some of these. I'm not sure who else helped with yours, except for down by Fort Wayne. They have a preservation organization called ARCH, and they did Allen County and LaGrange County, and I want to say DeKalb County, I think. But we did this, and yeah, the DHPA, the Division of Historic Preservation and Archaeology in Indianapolis and Indiana Landmarks did probably, I would say, 80 some counties of Indiana.
So what's a perceived benefit to the homeowner? Why would a homeowner want to be in the district?
To protect their investment, I would say. I mean, if they're doing a good job now, they probably know what they're doing, and they probably don't need tons of guidance. But like I said, if they sell that house, what's saying the next person will do? Keep up all the things that they put into that house. And if you carefully maintain the windows and all the trim, and maybe it's got a wonderful original roof, and just all these great pieces of integrity that you've maintained, and the next person comes along and says, forget it. We're going to put vinyl windows in, vinyl siding, take off the tile roof. There's no one there to stop them. And that would be really tragic. Sadly, there's no money attached to that, but we could always hope. So single sites or multi-sites, and reasons to designate, and there's several. I mean, it's often because it's historic, so it's something of value to the city, the state, might be involved with a significant person, somebody important to the community that lived there at one time, like the Barker
Lloyd
Mansion.
Wright buildings.
Yes,
We do.
yeah,
Lloyd
so,
Wright.
Got a couple of good ones out there.
yeah, so architecturally were they, it's done by a master maybe a master contractor, builder, or master architect, or it's got some really unique architectural features. So those are the reasons generally that you want to designate. And if they want to do that, then there needs to be an application to the Historic Preservation Commission. If it's a district, there need to be, legal boundaries of where that is. And if it's just an individual, you need just the legal description of that property, and then we need history on those buildings. And then that would go to the council eventually. There would be public hearings with the commission first, and then you'd recommend to common council, and then they would create an ordinance. And after that, COAs are required for changes on the exterior. Another way that you can do these things is through what they call a phased historic district, and there's 2 phases. So the first phase is 3 years, and during that time, they only need a COA if they're demoing, adding on, moving, or new construction. Anything else goes. So for 3 years that goes on, and it continue as a conservation district if a majority of the property owners object in writing. So at the end of 3 years, if more than half of them come along and say, no, we don't want to go any further, then it will just always remain as a conservation district. So it does provide some protection. Buildings don't get demoed easily that way, so that's a good thing. In new construction, you'd have input on that as well. But if there is no majority objection, and I'll have to say it is difficult to find 50% of the owners to object in writing, so this is written to move things along in a good direction. So then it becomes an honest to goodness local historic district, just like the other. It just took longer to get there. So the general feeling is people kind of get used to it during that 3 years, and they say, well, this isn't really so awful. We can move forward. And then COAs have to be issued for changes. You also are allowed interim protection, and this is really bad movement on here. I don't know why this looks like this. Okay, so for interim protection, it's a short-term measure to stop demolition. So you can declare that on a structure. It does not have to be in a historic district. If you just hear that something's coming down and you're opposed, you can go after this. And so you can notify the owner. There's temporary protection to prevent demolition, moving, exterior change. And then you try to find a solution, whether it's working with the property owner to find a buyer for the property. Maybe the property does need to go, but you don't want to see it torn down. Maybe you can find an empty lot, work with the owner to get it moved, that kind of thing. So you want to use that very carefully. I mean, that's only for very extreme things, but it can be useful.
What's the status of Marktown now?
The status of what?
Marktown in East Chicago. Landmarks has a bunch of easements on all the properties. And are you familiar with Marktown? No? Howard Van Doren Shaw had designed the entire community, but it was never completed.
Okay.
It's like English attached housing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very narrow streets. You don't know about Marktown?
This is the end of my world.
Oh.
For the most part. I mean, right now I'm babysitting Crown Point and
But all the
Howard until we get someone for that area, but I'm not, that's like.
BP wants to tear the whole place down, and all the owners have, for years,
Well, if it's a historic district, then they'll have to deal with it.
That's right. Probably something Brad was working on before he left, I would say, but I don't know. I'm sure Todd's well aware of it, but that's,
It's a cute little place.
I'll have to look that up.
It's right in the middle of the refinery, though, but
Location, it's not beautiful, it sounds like. That's interesting.
It's a shame.
It is. Well, I'll have to find out more about that because obviously I don't know. So for people that do need a COA, applications are supposed to be filed 2 weeks in advance. Sometimes we bend for special occasions, but generally speaking, 2 weeks before the
It's
meeting.
Thanksgiving.
That's right. They must be complete. That's probably the biggest battle we fight, is a complete application. So we need to know, what do the windows look like? What color are they going to be? Who's the manufacturer? What's the size? How are they going to be installed? You know, we just don't get that level of detail.
So we appeal to the property owners and the contractors. We're
Yes.
here to help, and we want to accommodate the best we can, but please follow through, submit the COA, get your information together, especially to Deb, don't give it to her at midnight the night before.
Yes, exactly. Do not like that at all.
Please, we all want to work together here.
That is absolutely it. So once I've got that, or as close as we think we're gonna get, generally I meet with the owner. If it's something that can be staff approved, Aaron generally is the one who's gonna take care of that, or we may chat about it on the phone. But if it's anything beyond that, I'm gonna go out and do a site visit and hopefully extract the rest of the information. And sometimes we find more, like on that one that was very lengthy today, that started out as a pretty short request, but as I got out and made the site visit and I see it has no gutters or downspouts, well, you're gonna put gutters? Oh yeah, we're gonna do that too. Oh, and we wanted to do a fence. You know, one thing leads to another. So site visits are an important part of
And
it.
a lot of that is just public awareness.
Exactly.
That they're, first of all, in a district, and then
I agree.
what are the requirements and what
Right.
aspects of work need to be
And
addressed.
most time, they don't even have a clue that they're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think realtors are doing a justice
We've
by
been
not.
struggling with that
I think
for,
that's ridiculous.
It really is. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's something I wish there was a good way to address realtors, that it would actually click, because I know some of them don't want to share that information,
Yeah.
and that makes it really hard.
Well, one possibility would be to see if we could make a presentation to the LaPorte County Realtors Association.
That would be an excellent thing to do, yes.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd like to see that happen.
I'm a member of that.
Are you?
I don't do,
Realistic.
get to go to all the meetings.
Uh-huh.
I'm there, yeah. So I do.
Yeah, if you could approach them, I think that would be wonderful, and see if that's something that could happen in the next year.
Oh, I think very possibly. They often look for speakers, but I would ask an expert
Yeah,
to
yeah, I'd
come
be
in.
glad to do that, because we've got a nice, well, kind of what I shared with the Elston Grove group last month, you know, that just kind of explains what we look for and who we are, and, you know, what you guys' function is, and would show the districts on a map, and, yeah, just the
They often
basic.
meet for lunch, or not counting last year. But the idea is to meet once a month for a lunchtime meeting, and then they'd have a speaker or something. So if that could be set up sometime, say next year, 2022, you could speak, but then we could invite some of the commissioners to come and meet some of the
Right.
realtors, the brokers there, and let them be.
it's a good idea.
I think that's a
I think
great
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I was a realtor back in the day, and I just think you want to know everything about the community that you're serving, so you should absolutely be spreading that kind of verbiage to buyers and that are looking at, you know, and let them know what they're getting into. They might not be interested, they might be interested in a older home, but they might not be interested in having the responsibility
Exactly.
of keeping up with that kind of commitment, so.
And they should know that.
And they should know that.
There's lots of great homes in
Right.
Michigan City that aren't.
That
in the
don't
historic
require
district.
that, but then there's a lot of people that live in that district that don't really, they don't
They don't know.
Yeah.
they don't know
they
it,
don't know.
and they, some of them might not, you know, that's not their
They didn't
jam.
sign
They
up
don't
for
really,
that, right.
yeah, they didn't sign up for that. That's not what they're.
Yeah, so there's certainly education of property owners, that's huge too.
I agree.
And something I really want to get after this year is reaching out to the various lumber yards and suppliers and paint distributors and things, because I worked with one property owner last year, and she went 3 different places for paint. They had never even heard of the historic color palette in any one of them, and one of them was Sherwin-Williams.
Oh, my gosh.
So we need to do some education.
Yes, I think
And so I think that could be helpful. So after we have a site meeting and we determine whether it's staff approval or commission review, if it is staff approval, then I write a staff report where I just compare the project to the guidelines and then make a recommendation based on that. We add it to the meeting agenda, and then you guys have to act in 30 days. Because if you don't act in 30 days, it's automatically approved. So we don't want that to happen. That happened twice last year also, so.
So sometimes that action would need to be denying it, so it gives us more time to bring the petitioner back in and go through some of the issues.
Exactly. So, this will kind of give you the rundown. You guys do a pretty good job of this, but we'll talk it through. So during the HPC review process in the meeting, you call for the case by petition number. We do need to make sure we always check for conflicts of interest, especially a big deal for Roger, who does a lot of work here in town. So that's important to know, because they need to just recuse themselves.
He usually does.
He does. He's usually pretty good about that, but it's always good to ask. So then we present the staff report, and then if the applicant has anything to present, they come after that. If it's something large and controversial, sometimes you're going to have people here to speak in favor or oppose, members of the public, and so they need that opportunity. And after that, the applicant needs to have the opportunity to respond to whatever they've said. At that point, then, you would, as chair, summarize the evidence and the facts and end the public hearing portion. So at that point, the public can't do any more input. So then you guys discuss. Only consider what's at hand, the material, substantial evidence that you've got right at the moment. Then generally, they do recommend a two-part motion, and not many of my commissions do that. I was on the phone with Crown Point on my way over here when we were doing one, and they do a finding of fact first, where they read, why, specific reasons why this project meets the guidelines or doesn't. So they enumerate what those things are. And then after that, a motion to approve with conditions, defer or deny. So it's really important when you make your motion that you're very clear about what the motion is, and not just say, I make a motion to approve, or, well, I just make a motion. You need to say specifically, I make a motion to approve as recommended by staff, or with the conditions following, or, be very, very specific about exactly what you're doing. And it's also good to give reasons why, especially if you're denying. You want to say why this is the case. I say deny this because they're asking for vinyl windows, and our guidelines specifically state no vinyl windows, or whatever. This becomes a deal if you ever end up in court, because the judge will care that you follow proper procedure. So you really need to have reasons. And then you vote on the motion. Roll call, certainly when we were doing virtual meetings, very, very important to do. Some people do by roll call all the time. Some only do it when they're denying it. That's up to you. So, general hints, review it according to the standards. 3 questions to consider. Does everyone understand the application? Does the project meet the standard? And does everyone understand the decision? Those 3 things are super important. The motion should be clear and include reasons. Even if it's just saying, I make a motion to approve this because it meets the historic district guidelines. You're saying why. You can be more elaborate if you want. And the chair should state the motion before the vote, so everyone's absolutely certain they know what it is they're voting on. And then if there is a denial, you need to explain that to the applicant so they understand. A denied project cannot be resubmitted for a year unless it's substantially changed. So people can't just keep coming back with the same project.
Interesting.
That comes from a case in Fort Wayne where they came back every month for almost a year with the exact same project. So the state finally added that as a condition, that you can't do that anymore. They thought they'd wear the commission down. I think they just ticked them off. So they didn't get anywhere. So the applicant.
How does that affect, if the timing is odd or such that maybe we can't meet, as happened, or we don't have a quorum within the 30-day time period?
Yeah, then they can, right.
But if we deny the meeting because there's not time to review it or to get together or to schedule a meeting according to open meeting laws and so on and so forth. But if we deny it, then is that saying they can't come back for a year?
Is that what we defer as opposed to deny?
We do generally defer. If we want to just put it off a month instead of deny, we defer.
But then what's the ordinance? It says if it's not approved within 30 days, or if it's not addressed.
Acted on. Acted on, right. So, yeah. And if there isn't quorum, that's not like denying it, that's just, it gets moved ahead because there is no meeting.
But if the time is still, clock is still ticking.
Just defer.
That is a great question that I actually posed to other commissions to say, how do you handle this outside of my region, but across the state to my colleagues? Because I said, if it's 30 days and we don't have quorum, it's way past 30 days till we have another meeting. What happens? And they said they've never had anyone contest that. It still just moves forward. That agenda just, I don't know, it just moves forward to the next month. Nobody's ever
Person
argued.
here is always show up.
But we have had at least 2 that I know of where we have not had a quorum. And luckily, there was nothing pressing that.
Yeah. So I don't know, that's kind of a little flaw,
It could
I
be, arguably, it's treated as tolling the time period until the next meeting. It's one way to argue it.
that may very well be the way to
Keep
do
that
it
thought.
too. Yeah.
In case we need it.
Oh.
So, yeah, the applicant needs to understand they still need permits. There's always those people that think, yes, the HPC passed it, but you still need a building permit, so we don't do that here. And, yeah, the court will look at whether Robert's Rules of Order were followed if you end up in court sometimes, so definitely want to do it that way, but you guys are pretty good about that. So finally, maybe with this little, well, it's not little, it's fairly long quote, but I thought it was really good about authenticity. So, appearance notwithstanding, this district isn't special just because it looks like it's made of historic stuff. It's special because it's actually made of historic stuff. Anybody can make a neighborhood out of party board houses, but only our forebears can provide us with an authentic historic neighborhood. Imitation can be better than nothing, but real is still the best. Going to the Italy Pavilion at Disney World is nice, but actually visiting Italy is exponentially better. When we allow for authentic details to be replaced, the district's character gets nickel and dimed over time, and we slowly transform our real history into something less authentic and less meaningful. And that's pretty much what it's about, remaining authentic. So, any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I was So what's the concept of historic?
I love it.
How far back? Is it 40s, 20s, 1800s? Can we go to the 60s or
1970.
what?
1971 would be the absolute.
Generally
earliest.
speaking, for the National Register, it's 50 years, yeah.
I'm 1971, that's me. So,
No, when I hit 50, my kids loved it. We can put you on the National Register. So, but when we're looking at retaining historic character in a house, so generally we're looking back to the time it was built or the time that some substantial rehab happened that transformed it into something that we maybe know even better. You know, in the case of that house tonight, there was a substantial rehab. And you could almost look at that 1920s rehab and say, okay, is this the period of significance? But I feel it's not. I feel they took away the character of the house tremendously in that 20s remodel. So generally, we're going back to the original and we look at it through the Sanborn maps and try and figure out, you know, what was this house originally?
There's subdivisions that are built through the course of time. So there's some that were built in the 50s, some in the 60s. So now if you find a subdivision built in the 60s, that could theoretically be historic.
If it has stuff of significant character, I would say, you know, your average 3-bedroom ranch with 1 picture window and 2 little windows and a front door and a 2-car garage, probably not,
We
you
don't have
know.
the same craftsmanship
They
these
don't.
days
Bunch of
that we had
khaki
back.
houses, you know.
Yeah,
The Ruby House, you know, that's worthy of historic designation, I think. That's a local MCM house.
Where's the Ruby House? What's the Ruby House?
It's by that, what's the Ruby House?
Yeah, I don't know that name. I mean, I'm sure I know the house, I just don't know the name. I mean, I
The
don't
street
know.
it's on?
That's what I was
You haven't been here
I
forever?
was just trying to sit here and think of that.
The Ruby House.
It was for sale several years ago. And
Is it on Cool Spring? Is it
It's
red?
near Cool, it's off of
It's-
Cool Spring,
it's-
it's by the
That bi-level?
No, it's the street behind. Abe Gibran owned it for a while too.
Abe Gibran. Was he Chicago Bears? Abe Gibran.
I can't
Deb, do
remember.
you know of any commissions
The
that,
Lewinsky houses.
with ordinances that have any teeth
And that's
to do
it.
anything? We've talked about that here, that there's no state statutory provision to, when they talk about we can buy property, we can hire people, but we have no money, we have no teeth to force to do anything.
So the state enabling the ordinance provides enforcement through cities' zoning boards, through their building enforcement, code enforcement, through the planning department. But you guys, yourselves, unfortunately, nothing, and no one does in any town. They really don't. So I think the biggest asset any town has is to have a mayor and administration that strongly supports their Historic Preservation Commission. Because last year when we had a blatant offense in Angola, the city supported going after the property owner, and the HPC sued and took them to court, and we won.
Oh,
And they had to take the vinyl windows out of the commercial building that looked like sin. And they spent well over $100,000 replacing those windows with beautiful windows. And the fines were hideous. They did the maximum fine, and windows were so far out on order that their fines were well into 6 digits before those windows were installed. And the owner was sweating bullets to get those things in there.
Wow.
And then once it was all done and the commission was happy, I inspected it, we talked about it, went back to the mayor and said, we're good. And they relieved all the fines.
oh, that's good.
And the beauty of it is we worked with that owner now on another project since then. So it didn't completely sour him. I was real thankful because that's part of it too. You have to work with these property owners going forward
Yeah.
too.
Sure.
Especially our community here, we want to build a good relationship. We appreciate them fixing up property
Right,
and doing
right,
things here, but
Right.
Yeah,
balance it out.
exactly, yeah.
I do have a question. Would the members like a copy of what Deb presented tonight?
I would, because I can't see it. I can just
Can you
try to hear
give
you.
that to him so we can
Yeah.
print it out?
I can do that.
I am still taking at least some comments for minutes, so I can't quite do it yet.
Oh, no, I didn't mean tonight.
Okay.
Even if you have it for the next meeting.
I don't know, it might be small enough file size I can send it to you because it doesn't have any photos in it, so.
There's a couple. Has the kid raising their hands?
That's true.
I just think it would be good to have, because seeing this was good, but having it in front of you to absorb it a little bit more, I think helps. Any questions for Deb?
Thank you, Deb.
Yes.
Welcome.
Appreciate your,
Yeah, so it's something we need to work on. We're supposed to have a couple educational sessions a year. Now that we're actually back together again, I think they're a lot easier in person.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Think about what you'd like to do next year too. So we have a planning meeting, right, first of the year.
Right.
We can come up with a couple things for educational stuff
Yeah.
next year. Definitely like to do one for you guys especially, but then also maybe one that we could invite
In the community.
community to.
Yeah, we talked about that and then we went into COVID, so
Yeah.
we weren't able to do it. Okay, then we're going to do B, 9B, district boundaries.
well, that's me. I passed around a map. You should all have a map there up in town, the district area. You see all the red dots. Then the other sheet is the description of the boundaries. So you see the Wabash Historic District, Franklin Street Historic Preservation District. Now, why two are historic districts and one's a historic preservation district, I don't know. So we can see if we can get the council to clean up some language there, but look at the Wabash Historic District, beginning at a point where the center line of 4th Street and Wabash intersects. So that's the upper left red dot there. And then you can follow that description east along the center line of 4th Street to the alley, south along that center line of the alley extended to 11th, and west, and then north. So you've got the rectangle there, kind of on the west, straddling or west side of Franklin there. The Franklin Street Historic District is the one downtown. So beginning at Pine and 4th Street, so you see the dot over there, Pine and 4th going west to the alley, then south, and then east, and then back up to Pine and 4th. So we've got another rectangle there if you follow that. And I referenced those two because they are both on the center lines of 4th Street to Wabash, and then all the way east to Pine Street. Then we go to Elston, it says beginning at Pine and 6th Street.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, keep going, yeah.
It says beginning at Pine and 6th Street, then east on 6th to Michigan Boulevard, then south on Michigan Boulevard to 6th Street.
That's impossible.
I know.
Yeah, you can't.
So I believe the first line should be the intersection of Pine and 4th Street.
That sounds
Well,
better.
no, it excluded the housing development that the city owns down there purposely. So it's on 6th.
Well, it's on the corner of 6th, goes to 7th, back to Cedar.
No, but this says south on Michigan Boulevard to 6th, then west on 6th to
Yeah,
7th.
that's completely
Yeah, that's
going
not,
around in a circle.
yeah.
So that's the point I'm making here, is because the description doesn't make sense.
No.
So I have addressed this to some members of the city council, but nothing ever happens. So I just thought I'd just bring it here and see if we can get it in our minutes and maybe get a more or less official
Correct.
request to the city council to revise this appropriately, or to the extent that we can determine our own boundaries, is that something that we should redefine this and then submit it as a recommendation to the city council?
That's,
I think that's what should be done. Yeah. Yeah, tell them what it should be.
Right.
And then, whatever we decide, vote and approve that, and then submit that as our recommendation to the city council for their vote
Very
to
smart.
change the ordinance, because this is an ordinance, so
Yeah.
got to go through the process.
Yes, you do. Yeah, obviously it's got problems, so.
So, does everybody think the first line in Elston should be the intersection of Pine and 4th? And continuing that from Wabash?
This is just awful small for this old man to see.
I know, I can't see it. I'm like,
On the city's website, they got a color-coded map that has the districts, Elston Grove is in fuchsia, I guess, I don't know. But 4th Street is too far north because that encompasses the housing development, the Michigan City Housing Authority development, and that's at the intersection of 6th and Michigan.
Well, this already includes 6th, so that's not 4th.
right.
Yeah, but I don't think the intent was to make out the historic district that far north to 4th
Well,
Street.
who knows what their
What
intent
the-
was, but it's certainly not clear, because you can't
Yeah, that's
go
right.
east to 6th and then down to 6th, because you're already on 6th.
Right.
So this is certainly not correct.
what in the heck? Oh, my
Maybe
goodness.
we should go from meets and bounds to actual geo coordinates. I mean, instead.
Well, so there. But this is, it's the center line of 4th, so the library is on the north, so this does not include the library, but it appears that it would go from Wabash to Pine and then continue on to Michigan Boulevard, and then go south on Michigan Boulevard to 6th Street.
Right, and then, yeah.
So
That makes sense.
one way to change it is to change the first two lines there from 6th Street to 4th Street. Then at least it makes sense mapping it out.
Right.
Yes.
everybody follow?
That makes sense. Then east.
West.
And so,
I'm trying to envision it without seeing the buildings. I just can't.
The library.
Yeah, I got your 4th Street, then you have that condo development that's right there at, 2nd. I guess goes from 2nd to 4th.
Well, that's north side of Forest, so that wouldn't be included.
That's not included. You're talking about where the,
Well, does it go 2nd to 4th, or does it go from 4th to 5th?
Just beginning Pine and 4th Street.
Doug, would this actually require resurveying, because we're actually expanding the district? Or discussing expanding the district?
Well, if we expand the district, yes. I just don't think it was ever meant to go north of 6th. I really don't. I mean, I guess based on everything I have in my files at home, which obviously I don't have with me, but nothing ever is north of 6th in Alston Grove. We don't have anything.
Because they had torn it all down.
That's what I was gonna
And,
ask, what's even there, building-wise? What's there historic building-wise? Anything?
That condo development at the corner of Pine and
That's north.
4th or 5th. That's north.
Yeah, there isn't anything historic there.
That's just a lot of
There
empty
there
ground.
were a few houses alongside 6th that the redevelopment commission acquired and tore down.
So
Yeah,
there's
there is no
nothing-
current
No
buildings that
current,
would
no.
be eligible for.
So everything between 5th and 6th is gone, right? And basically between 6th and 4th and
6 is the
6th.
housing authority, there, the
the
seniors home,
Boulevard, Boulevard and
that's
6th
6 there.
up to behind the church on 7th.
Yeah, that's
So
between
that's that
6th and
carve out
7th.
where the dots go around it? That's,
Oh, trust me, there's a big map about the graphic.
I can't see my, I didn't bring my glasses.
I have these, but I need
No, it's
magnifying
okay.
I
glass.
got my glasses.
I know.
but I got you.
I get it, yeah.
I made the text a large print edition.
Yes,
Thank you, I can read it.
No, we
Yeah, I
appreciate
just can't
that.
see
Yeah,
it.
We appreciate that.
Well, I did it too.
There,
Okay, maybe that helps.
so 4th, way up there at the top. I mean, there's just not much there or there. In my mind, I thought the district ended right here at 6th. I thought it was the south side of 6th Street down to 11.
But this says the intersection of,
Pine and 4th, so,
Yeah.
or Pine and 6th, no, and then east.
but then it says east on 6th to Michigan Boulevard. That's okay. But then south on Michigan Boulevard to 6th Street.
6th.
Historic
Can't go-
districts,
Can't go
okay.
south on
That's
Michigan
not gonna work.
Alright,
You can't go
Alston
south.
Grove.
So it goes to Spring and then, or Cedar, and then goes south on Cedar.
That's on 6th to Cedar, which is,
So,
Here it is broken down, Ms. Deb,
Oh, here.
in the districts.
okay, great.
And this is a map that was made in 2016, or 17.
And that's 6th. And the
Down
name's out
Cedar.
that chap. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I had in my head, but that's sure not what it says in the text at all.
So, we'll try and match that with this, huh?
Yes,
That's
I think that would be
Yeah,
right,
we'll
don't you?
change.
Because there's nothing up there
Yeah,
to grab. I
See
think
that?
somehow that's
I can
just
see that.
How about if I bring you closer with it?
Oh,
yeah, let's take it over to that.
But that's okay, I don't need to. I mean, I know, but then we just have to describe.
It has to, the description
Yeah,
needs
it has to
to
be
match,
what we want.
match the map.
So if it starts at Pine and 6th, this says, is this,
The first one says Pine and 6th,
this is 6.
and then it says east to 6th, so you probably should have been east to 4th, right?
Well, this says start at Pine and 6th, go east on 6th to Michigan Boulevard, then south on Michigan Boulevard to 6th Street, which is where we
You're
are,
right there, you're not going
then
anywhere.
west on 6th back to Cedar.
Pine and 6th.
Yeah, that's,
So we just need to cut out this part then,
Right.
that doesn't make sense.
to come down here, right?
6th, okay.
Yeah.
So Pine and 6th, that's where we start.
So if
And
you,
it says though, east on 6th to the
To
boulevard.
Michigan Boulevard.
so it should be east on 6th
Okay.
to
Then
Cedar.
south,
So we get it to stop right here. What is
At
that?
Cedar.
That's Cedar? Okay, so we
East
want
on
it to go
6
to Cedar.
Yes.
To Cedar.
Then delete the next couple lines, then south on Cedar to 7th.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that makes no sense.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
yes.
And then
to
east on 7th to Michigan Boulevard.
Right.
Then southerly Michigan Boulevard to the center line of 10th.
10th Street.
That's here.
Yeah.
Then southwesterly along the center line of 10th to the center line of Maple. It says, well, southwesterly or southerly here.
What a mess. How does that become a mess like that?
Oh, they're treating this as 10th Street here.
Okay.
So to the center line of 10th, then southwesterly to the center line of Maple,
Okay.
then southerly along the center line of Maple to the center line of 11th, and then coming back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
A whole lot more sense.
So those three
That
lines
makes sense.
need
We
to
need to delete a couple of
those
those
three
lines.
lines.
Yeah. So the second
one
line,
has
you
to
need to go to Cedar
Right.
instead of Michigan, then delete the next two lines.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then it's okay.
9-6, go to
And
C.
then that is not enlarging the district, it's just correcting.
Correcting it, correcting the
Text.
Description.
Yes.
Exactly.
Good job.
Yes.
So do you still need to go, you have to present that to
Yeah,
the
we
city
should, yeah, we
council?
should
Have
take
to-
our recommendation
right,
here
right,
to change, amend the ordinance itself.
So
it's
It's not changing that map
No.
for the intended district,
But it's clarifying.
The other two
yeah.
were good.
but
The other two districts were good.
yes.
Would the Park District application have the actual map that was proposed?
Should.
Then you'd go with that.
Let me see if I can pull that up.
Our Park Service.
Let's see. I've got that. District. Should be right at the end. If it doesn't, yeah, there's the map. So it is Pine and 6th, east to Cedar, south on Cedar to 7th, east to Michigan, and then down Michigan to, okay, it goes farther than that. This is the National Register District, though.
Goes farther than 10?
It does. It goes past Maple.
Pass Maple.
That's National Register, so that wouldn't be applicable.
Yeah, this is not, the National Register and the local don't match exactly. It's close, but it's not quite. It's off by about
Well, is that
7
Maple that
houses.
comes out by Betty's, or is that 10th?
That's 10.
10th, okay.
So it takes everything south. Clear, yeah.
So what we described is what needs to be.
Yep, you've got the
I
right
think
description.
this,
Cedar.
so east on 6th to Cedar, and then delete the next two lines.
Yep,
And then south on
exactly.
Cedar.
Yep, that's
makes
exactly right. Yep.
Yep.
Go to Joyce.
Yeah, I wrote down the same thing. Did you have a copy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that what everyone understands?
Are there any questions now about this? So now, we need to present this to the
So what, we need to make a,
recommendation.
yeah, we need to have a motion, second, and vote to make a recommendation to the city council to make those amendments to the ordinance, I guess, or
I got it.
correct?
Should we be giving this to Dabney, the council liaison, or?
Well, that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can reach him and he can present it, probably our liaison to the council.
So would we correct how we want on this and then ask Brian to,
Well, I think we could include that as a sample Or just like we do for approving staff reports, we say as presented, so forth.
You need this back, Dan?
No, but I think on the Franklin Street, also let's ask them to delete preservation so they can all be historic districts.
Yeah, that word shouldn't be in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't say that on the plaques. It says Franklin Street Historic District. I think it says preservation.
We're adding it to two of them.
No, we're removing it. Preservation.
Removing that?
It makes no sense to have it in there the first
Just
place.
one word.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, the establishment clause says historic districts or historic preservation districts, but I understand the,
Yeah, just for conformity, I guess, yeah.
Actually, the plaques say Franklin Street Commercial Historic District.
That's the name of the National Register. Register.
If you didn't have a headache before you came, I'm sorry you're going home. Since you already have this on your computer, do you want to do that so we can present it?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can,
And then,
that shows the corrections. I'll redline it to show what we want to delete and
Yeah,
change.
that would be
And then
good.
have a conformed copy, and we could send that, include that as part of the minutes and our recommendation to the city council through our liaison.
that'd be great. Does anybody disagree with that, or?
now, they established it to reflect the actual plats that Elston had owned, correct? That's the acreage or from the plat map? That's how Elston Grove gets its name, right?
So it's probably it's the name of the subdivision, but it's not necessarily the reason why the district's named that.
Okay,
Because you can really,
you call it.
subdivision name and district names don't always match.
Right.
However, I don't have a copy of any of the documentation for when the district was originally created to understand what the rationale was calling it. So the Elston Grove was probably just the easiest thing to call it. But I can't be certain of that because I don't have that information.
So the boundaries don't necessarily reflect the entirety of what he owned,
No.
but
The area in
Okay.
general.
You want this back, Dan?
Yeah,
I'm not as good.
I never do it like this.
I know, he can, it looks so easy. I appreciate you doing that.
well, then if we all understand, then I would make the motion as presented to delete preservation and modify the ordinance as
For the-
attached.
For the Elston Grove District, yeah. Is everybody,
second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Appreciate that, Dan. That would be great.
Just a little clarification, notwithstanding your headaches.
That's good.
Right, no, that's perfect, so. All right. I lost my agenda, I was so excited.
Now we have C.
December
Yeah.
meeting.
December meeting,
See, all right.
okay.
Who's going to be here December 27th?
Our meeting is scheduled for December the 27th.
Do we have any prospective CLAs in the pipeline?
Not at this
At the
time.
moment, but that could change tomorrow morning.
Well, yeah.
But no one that I've been
Nothing on
working
the
with.
horizon right now. But if someone wants to, I mean, you just had the last minute one here.
Right.
If someone comes up and they want to get some work done end of the year, get approval, sign contracts or something, then
What is their cutoff? Second Monday, right?
Right.
Yes.
So that'd be like the 13th or something.
I was trying to get through it, why won't it let me?
Yeah, so the meeting is Monday 27th,
it's,
and the cutoff date is
13th.
December 13th.
I mean, we'll know.
I don't object to keeping it on the schedule. And if we see if anybody files for my schedule, I'm able to attend.
Because the only other thing is if it would be a week earlier, but we'd have to notify everybody if we wanted to do that.
Yeah, just the concern is really just ensuring that there's at least a quorum.
Because we're gonna run into the same thing in January, right?
Well, January shouldn't be as bad,
Yeah, January is the 24th. I mean,
because this is between, right after
Christmas, yeah,
Christmas.
Christmas.
So the question would be,
It's
2 days
24th of
after,
January.
2 days after Christmas, are we gonna have a
Okay.
quorum?
I'm not going anywhere, so.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm
I'll
gone
be here.
for the
I
weekend,
have to
I'll
be
be
here,
back by
so-
Tuesday. Are you okay?
Yep,
Deb?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll keep the meeting.
I mean, we'll just see if anybody files
Right.
anything.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
nobody
if
does
there
anything.
is an opportunity to cancel it, I will cancel the meeting.
That sounds,
On the 14th, right?
Yes.
Well, it's 11:59.
4:31 p.m.
On the 13th.
I can handle that.
Okay.
So we're counting on Eric.
Yes.
Any other,
How about you guys?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna commit.
Okay.
I'm easy.
he's gonna be out partying,
I don't know. Yeah, that's 3 weeks away,
that's a month.
whatever, a month.
I'm around, so I'm big.
How about if, would you like me to send out a little to everybody to see if,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
I'll do that tomorrow. Because the only other person I think might be John again. Because he gets together with family and like right now he's in Florida. And so, okay, I'll send out a little, and then we can all, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll have to reschedule it. To probably the Monday before, the 20th.
That's what I'm thinking.
If we must.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll send it out and hopefully get a reply from everybody. Otherwise, we'll go ahead with the regular date. I won't mention anything about the 20th. I'll
Please
just
don't.
ask if everyone can be here on the 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other concerns about the next meeting? Okay. And if there's any public that would like to comment, they can do that.
I like, I feel.
Do we have anybody?
Anybody here?
No, nobody on Zoom.
Oh, this is live?
That was cute.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, Dan, and do we have a second?
A second.
Bye.
All right, all in favor? And thank you, Deb, for that, that was great, good job.
Yeah.